It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. In the name of God. Now I know what it feels like to be God.
Hello, friends and fiends. Welcome to another Creature Features. Blood and Guts presents Creature Features, and we got a good one for you tonight. How's it going, Mad Matt?
Pretty good, Evil Adam. You know why?
Why is that?
We get to discuss a cult classic, one that I know me and you dearly love.
Mm-hmm.
That's, pretty remarkable movie for you think about the budget, the time it come out, and its lasting power.
That's right.
Mhm.
And that film is Tremors, featuring Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, all kinds of classics.
Mhm.
Who else we got in this one, man?
We got Michael Gross as
Mhm.
the legendary Burt Gummer.
Burt Gummer. Can't forget about Burt.
You got Finn Carter. Honestly, I've not seen many movies with her, but she's the one that plays Rhonda. But you got Reba McEntire, country music fame, and she's
Yeah.
made some good shows too. The other two that really stick out to me is Ariana Richards, who plays the little girl Mindy, but she's you may know her from Jurassic Park, or if you really like old '90s romantic comedies, Angus is a great movie that she's in. Also, Spaced Invaders.
Oh, yeah, Angus.
And then to me, the legendary Victor Wan, who plays Walter Chang.
Yes.
And I always
yes.
think about him from Three Ninjas, and he's got lots of other movies that he's in as well.
John Carpenter fame.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so this film is it can be anything you want it to be. It's action, it's survival horror,
Mm-hmm.
it's sci-fi, it's a creature feature. It's fits every mold.
Yep.
You really want it to fit, and it also calls back to that childhood game of the floor is lava,
Mm-hmm.
but in a much more real and dangerous situation here. Obviously you got the graboids, and they're underground,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how the idea came to be. Was they were thinking about, we're sitting on a rock in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
What if there was something underneath the rock, like a creature that would prevent us, like a shark,
Mm-hmm.
from going onto the ground? And that's how the whole thing
And
kind
also,
of got started.
like I said, also reminds me of another game you play with kids at times, the quiet game. Because
The quiet game.
Because if you're not
Oh, yeah.
quiet, they pick up on where you're at. And
That's
like I said,
right.
that's how they hunt you. So,
Echolocation.
and like I said, that's a great way of describing it. And like I said, yeah, S.S. Wilson, like I said, did get that idea in the desert. And you just think about it, it's a simple idea. And when they were originally making the movie, like I said, you brought up like it being a shark. Actually, the title was Land Shark.
Land
So
shark. Oh yeah.
I'm glad that they went away from that title, because it reminds me of that Saturday Night Live skit with Chevy Chase.
Classic Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd.
Candygram.
Land shark.
But like I said, we touched on the cast. Like I said, I know at the time Kevin Bacon, he actually was depressed about being in this movie at the
Yeah.
time, because he thought his career had taken a downward trend. Because here I am in a B sci-fi, or not sci-fi, but B
A
horror
movie about worms.
Yeah, about
He
worms underground.
told his girlfriend, "I'm in a movie about worms."
And not realizing, the actual, what he actually had was going to be like lightning in a ball. I know it didn't set the world on fire at the box office, because it was made back in 1990 for about $10 million and only pulled in about 16.7 million. So it didn't even break even, but it made its money in the home video market. That's where the majority of people, I know myself as a child, that's where I
Yep.
discovered it.
That's when I saw it at home, HBO, on cable.
Yep.
Probably at my grandma's house. I saw it, and I was, raised in family, older cousins, of course, and they were like, "You got to see this. You got to see it, man.
You should have been there, man.
Should have been there."
Oh
But,
man,
yeah.
but yeah, like that's exactly like you said, and that once I watched it, it's a good gateway movie, like we were discussing earlier, for like a horror movie, because it's PG-13, so depending on how you raise your kids, you may think they're ready for it, you may think they're not, but still not
Yeah.
something as far as like a hardcore R-rated movie that's going to scar them.
Right.
It's a good way to get their feet wet.
And there's not a lot in this that's really going to cause them to say, I got to sleep in your bed because I'm having nightmares.
Right.
It's not your Pet Cemetery or your, more hardcore, like you said, horror
Right, like
film.
Return of
So,
the Living Dead.
yeah, something that's a little more cheeky,
Mhm.
but yet still has its serious, kind of moments. So
Yeah, like I said, One thing I love about this movie and draws me back to it too is the writing of it is really well. It's a well written movie, and I love the camaraderie of Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward's character of Val and Earl, and how they play off each other throughout
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah.
And you just feel like, the whole movie they're trying to think, how do I get out of perfection? Like they want to go to that town Bigsby, and every time they're trying to get out, they get a little further. They discover someone else has died, and have to come back out and report it. So
And you would think that these characters and the way that they play off each other, I know it's a low budget feature, but kind of, but the way they play off each other is you would think that these characters have truly worked together and
Yes.
known each other for a while, which is right off the bat in the opening scenes. It's kind of one of those things that it's kind of hard to pull off. So
right. And one great thing, when we're talking about how it being well written, one thing I loved about this movie is you don't know where the graboids came from, but you have that one scene where they're on the rock and they're like, I vote for outer space. Like, ain't no way these are local boys.
You never know. You never know where they come from. Did they just like
the government? Like Kevin Bacon's like, is it the government building? Big surprise for the Russians.
Yeah. Did they thaw out? Did they come from outer space? Did they just appear? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? And that's but they have the potential to tear down whole buildings. If the foundations are weak enough, and tear down, suck down cars and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, they got some power.
And the last thing I'll touch on the writing there, like we went through the whole cast, but like all their characters are really well written. Like they have like distinct personalities. Like you have the kid Melvin, which everybody's wanting to see him get what he deserves in the end because he's just like a cocky little boy. It's always getting into trouble.
Kind of annoying, yeah.
And like I said, Walter Chain, he's always wheeling and dealing in that story because I'll give you $5 for that tentacle. Because I'll give you 15.
Yeah.
But just wonderful movie. And like next thing I want to talk about with it is the special effects of that movie. You think about all the practical effects they did to get these graboids into the shots. Like there was no CGI. It all had to be done within camera.
Yeah. So that was what was it? Amalgamated Effects did those, and it was big ass puppets.
Yep.
And with effects makeup added to them and prosthetics added. So that's one thing.
You had the one big worm, like you think about the scene where they dig it up from head to tail. So that one big worm they had to build for that shot. And one fun trivia with that is they originally, when they were going through them and designing them, they wanted them to be real dry and dusty. But through test screens, they noticed the audience were reacting more if they were slimy and gooey and bloody. So they went back and reshot some scenes to add all that slimy and goo.
Oh yeah,
and
you see those
works
mouths.
out.
You see those tentacle mouths, whatever the term is. And they open up with the slime and the guts and stuff. So yeah, it really worked out pretty well for this.
And I mean, there may not be a whole lot of gore, but all what's in it, it's well designed. It's like good to give you that gut reaction. Like I think about when they come across the construction scene, you see the brains within the hard hat and like all the blood that's around. And it's funny. I mean, it shouldn't be funny, but whenever they come up on old Fred and they take the hat off and his face is just looking up at him in shock.
And you have a character who died because of dehydration and who who was so afraid to come down.
Yes.
So that's a whole psychological thing. Is like if something's down there, and you're that afraid to come down, to get water, to use the restroom, to do whatever it is you got to do, that's something pretty serious down there.
Like I said,
that's something that you don't want to play with.
And that's one thing. It's like what could have been a man? Like because they're thinking it had to be a man. Like what kind of man would just be down there waiting on him to die? That's not scared of a 30-30 that he's had up in his lap.
Exactly.
But I said one scene that I want to touch on too that's amazing as far as special effects goes is whenever the graboids get into Bert and Heather's basement and come in.
Yeah.
And like it's just the mix of practical effects where they splice together like Michael Gross and Reba McEntire's character and the graboid itself where it comes in through the basement and is wreaking havoc in the upstairs, and then you have different shots where it's like a projector screen in front of them. They're just in front shooting and timing it from the shots. Like I said, just pulled out about every trick in the book you can get.
And the audio, I'm sorry to cut you off real quick, but the audio of they're listening from the roof.
Yes.
They have sounds like World War III going on over there, kind of deal. World War II going on. and you just hear the audio of how much gunfire is going off, and they're like, surely they've killed it, but it still keeps going.
Yep.
Sets in your mind, you're like, damn, they're still shooting over there.
And the beauty of that scene is too, you see how much it takes to finally kill one of these graboids. Like, you know, they go through honestly like 10 to 15
Concrete
guns.
buildings, they go through.
Yeah.
They go through.
And it took
surfaces.
the elephant gun for him to finally put that bad boy down.
Oh, yeah.
But that whole scene was great because it builds so much tension because the audience loves Bert and Heather. And so you're worried that they're going to die. So that whole
Right.
time you're playing off that tension. So like that scene is just really well done.
Yeah, and the scene when they're on the shelves of the store, and the shelves are kind of buckling underneath their feet because they're pulling the surface out from under the store.
Yeah.
You know, and then you can see the shelves kind of do like this roller coaster pattern up and down. You're like, holy shit, these things are ripping the floor out of this place. So-
I know, like I said, it's amazing. It's amazing how they shot that, and it's like just really well done.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bits of trivia too. We kind of talked about how this was a gateway horror for younger people. It was originally rated R, but it wasn't for the blood and gore like we're talking
Right,
about. It was
right.
actually for language. So they decided, you know what, we can actually pare this down to a PG-13 rating and not lose anything. And honestly, I think they did a great
To
job
appeal
of that.
to a wider audience, yeah, and Mother Humpers,
Yeah.
you know, is a good one that you'll hear referenced into this. But yeah, it's just it's desert, it's hot, it's dry. You know, it's a great setting for this film. You know, like he's taking your hat off, you're wiping your sweaty brow, you know, and you know, where did these things come from? Like you said.
You played off that great and brought up a fantastic point, and that's another reason why this movie works so great and creates that tension is because Bert talks about earlier in the movie the reason why they moved to perfection is because they're isolated.
Yep.
They can't get no help from anybody. Like you know,
Right.
they got the mountains to one side, so they said they need a good 4-wheel drive to get up them mountains, and they closed off the road where they killed all the construction workers and blew out part of the road.
Yep.
So they're cut off from everybody now. So like you said, it's a survival horror now. Are they
Yeah.
gonna make it? If they are, they're gonna have to work together.
Yeah, so this film is it's you know, it's several different films. It's survival horror, it's creatures, it's comedy, definitely
Yes,
comedy
yeah.
in points, and so it's got all these elements and
Blended together.
That's
Greg.
why it's great for because I mean I saw it as a kid. Now would I let my daughter watch this? Yeah, I would, because it's not your Pennywise clown. It's not your things. It's definitely for what mid audiences.
Yeah.
To adult, and even as an adult, you pick up on some
I still
stuff.
enjoy this movie.
Oh yeah, it's a classic.
So that brings us to one of our favorite segments, Booze and Ghouls. I'm sure it's one of your favorites too. And so who's this next segment brought to you by?
This is
Eli?
brought to you by Karen. This is the parental guide. Here we go with the parental guide, and we got some good ones for you where we like to just pull in and see what the Karens have written. They've gone to the department store and they're upset over something, so they've upset some poor manager who makes minimum wage.
That red sticker deal wasn't correct.
That red sticker deal, maybe the sweater, the sleeve was too long, I don't know. But she's upset, so now she's taken to the internet to give you her feedback on the film Tremors. So let's go ahead and kick us off with one good one you found there.
I've got a woman gets her pants pulled off but still has her underwear on. Well, I mean, honestly, that's probably a good thing, Karen.
It's what, PG-13 film, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there you go. This is a good one. It's a little bit more lengthy, but a man describes a woman as having world-class breasts and an ass that won't quit. Says his pecker makes bad decisions, and that's all in the beginning of the film. Well, yep, that's some banter back and forth between two guys who are kind of in a construction type field, and I don't know if how many of you guys work a construction type field, but definitely heard worse than that. Working construction myself in the past, so
I love this one. Then anybody, you're gonna love this one too. It says, "A man and a woman kiss in the end."
Oh.
Very descriptive, Karen. Very descriptive.
very nice. Happily ever after. Monster gore is also seen, including torn skins, organs, and more. Very graphic.
It's almost like it's a horror movie.
So monster gore, well, which is about what? 900-pound, couple ton giant burrowing worms in the ground, and they're getting shot, they're getting blown up, they're getting ran over. There's things going on. Of course, there's going to be monster gore, and it wouldn't be a creature feature without that monster gore that we love,
Yes.
boys and girls.
Love this one then. We're going to piggyback on that gore. It says a helmet can be seen with gore inside of it. I mean,
That's
what
where
you
they've
think.
that's where they've executed the construction
Yes,
crew.
we talked about that earlier.
yeah, and it's kind of, it's not too much. It's
No.
not too much. Like, you never really see. You almost see like the aftermath.
Yes.
You never see. I mean, there are some scenes where you see their chaos, but there's not a lot where you.
Most of it, like you said, the major stuff is going off on camera. Like when you think about the doc dying, he's getting pulled. You can see him writhing in pain, but you're
Right.
not seeing him actually get eaten.
Exactly. So a lot of your stuff is
Left to your imagination.
aftermath. Yeah, it's left to your imagination, which is why it works so well. And here's a really good one. I don't know who did this one, and I'm going to read it to you exactly
Verbatim.
as it's listed verbatim. I'm not changing a thing. A graboid eats old Fred. His killed there eaten by creature swallows into monster's stomach.
What?
Yeah, that's some serious stuff. So Fred is dead and is eaten into the monster's stomach. I couldn't make it up, folks, if I tried.
Well, I have one similar to that one. It wasn't exactly the same, but it's regarding old Fred, so we're going to skip that one. But I found another one here that's hilarious. It's a man is seen dead, parentheses, from dehydration.
From dehydration.
That's just
right.
so awful.
No Gatorade.
Okay,
No
to be had.
Powerade. No, none of that body armor. None of that stuff. But, that would be because, I mean, I could see that. If there's a graboid coming up, you climb up a pole, tree, what have you, to escape it.
You can't say first, let me grab some water.
You can't pause, grab some water. You're going to stay up there till it's gone. And if it isn't gone, well, you're going to have a mighty powerful thirst. So.
You got any more?
No, what you got there?
I got
Lay
three
it
more.
on us.
Then we got
Lay it on us.
people are seen drinking and smoking throughout the movie. Yeah, you can't have that.
Not in the 90s.
Not in the night. Lots of bombs and guns are fired.
This is true, and that's done by.
This is true.
That's done by. A lot of that's done by Reuben McIntyre, who is a badass in this
yes.
film. And Bert's a classic badass, and he appears in all the films, if not all of them. But Reba steps in, and she's just a badass too. And I mean, I don't know if this is her first film or one of her first.
I'm really not
films,
sure, but she does great in
But
it.
she steps up, and she's got her accent going. She's just firing machine guns. She's a total badass.
So last but not least, though, you're going to get a kick out of this one. It says, horses are used, which may upset animal lovers.
Yeah, some horses do perish in the film. And I actually read a thing where they had said something about the animal trainer that brought in the horse. The horse was obviously trained to lay down on command,
Right.
flat on the ground. And then they brought in a not a puppet horse, but more of like a prosthetic fake, kind of horse for the scene where the graboid gets at it and all this stuff, which is still really cool when you think about it, because in this film, the 90s, you got this, you got animal trainers, you got special effects,
Right.
you got vehicle, people involved. So for a low budget film, you had a lot of stuff going on in this, and especially with the town was the whole town was a set.
Yeah.
This whole town was not. It was not a town that already existed. They built this set to represent the town, which is still pretty cool. And and like that whole Kevin Bacon, Fred.
Yeah. Dynamic.
Yeah, it's just so perfect.
I'm glad you touched on this because this actually segues into our final thoughts of the film. Though that's one thing. Like earlier, we didn't mention enough about that dynamic between Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. Like you said, you just really felt that they were close. Not only, like I said, like reading back on, they do like each other well enough. But you would think in this movie they're probably best friends because that camaraderie that they do have.
You'd think that they're best friends.
And they play off each other really well. And the late Fred Ward, like he passed away earlier this year, he just totally nails it as Earl.
Oh yeah.
And I was tickled. Like there's plenty of sequels. Like this obviously spawned a franchise, but I loved when he come back in Tremors 2. Like that one was really good.
Yeah.
And those may be some ones that we touch down the road. Some we may not. Like I said, because I know I haven't seen all of them, but I definitely do love the second one.
The way they play, I mean, even when I saw it as a small kid, you know, on HBO at my grandma's house, which is where I saw, as you're going to see, most of these films.
Yeah.
You know, they came across as best friends. You know, they would talk shit to each other. So there's a lot of stuff like kind of like what we do.
And it's like,
know?
honestly, and I don't know if a lot of people picked up from this movie, because obviously rock, paper, scissors has been forever, but I know of me, my brother, and my friends, every time, like, who's going to do this?
Rock, paper, scissors.
And we got that from this movie, because that's how they decide everything to do.
Yeah, and it was one of those that, like, you know, that's our dynamic. We talk shit to each other, but we're still, you know, best friends.
Yep.
That we carry on this, and they portray that, you know, having never worked together. I'm pretty sure that I don't think they had worked together before this. If I'm wrong, leave a comment down below and let us know. But yeah, folks, that's, you know, Tremors there.
What would you give it then? Obviously, for me, it's 5 Goldblums, 5 bones.
5 Goldblums, 5 bones. I do enjoy it. I think it's one that you could put on with your younger sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, you know, younger people in your family, and they wouldn't freak out too bad. So yeah, we definitely give it.
Absolutely. So if you like this video, give it a like. Like I said, comment what do you love about Tremors. Do you love the sequels that it generated as well? Like I said, would you like to see us cover some of them? Leave us a comment and let us know. But be sure to subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends, enemies, like you say.
Share it with your local shop owners. You know, anybody that you like to see get eaten by a graboid. You know, and as always, remember, stay spooky. And remember, blood and guts.